So this evening, I'm trying to figure out where I might be getting some leaks on the inside in this area and do something about them before the rain comes in here day after tomorrow. So I'm just coming in here and I'm looking at things like on top of this vent and just anywhere there's anything going in the side of the bus or the top of the bus. And one of the things that I noticed is there's a lot of rivets missing on this seam right here. And I mean, there's really nothing stopping water from just kind of going right in there when it's pouring down rain. And that is awfully close to where I'm seeing the water kind of puddling up at the bottom. So since I have my new rivets and my new rivet shaving tool, I might do a little rivet work tomorrow and see if I can seal up everything that I think might be leaking. And then when it rains, we'll see if it leaks. So what I've got to do is I've got a little punch here that's about the right size, actually a little bit smaller than the hole, which is perfect. And I'm just taking it, and where you see the old rivet still in there, I'm basically putting it in there, hitting it with a hammer and knocking these old rivets out. All right, so I'm out here in the rain, kind of spitting rain a little bit, but working on rivets. I've got a couple in. So what I found out when I went to try to go put these in this morning is that the rivets in the skin of the bus were actually 1/8, not 5/32, which is what I bought. These are 5/32 in the doors. These guys, which you can tell is kind of more proud, sticking out than these. So I'm not really sure what these are. They're not buck rivets because they're not squished like a mushroom on the inside. They look like they were, I don't know what they are, but I do know they're all breaking. So I think I'm gonna put these back in it. But anyway, when I measured for my rivets, I measured one of these holes, and so that's how I got that messed up. However, what the manufacturer recommends is that if you had a 1/8 rivet and you lost it, pulled it through, or you drilled it out, to go to 5/32 because the hole would be stretched after all of that. And I assume these probably were a little bit. So what I ended up doing is going to Harbor Freight to get the correct drill bit. It was actually supposed to be a number 20 drill bit for a 5/32 rivet. And since I'm using these rivets with the little O-rings on them, I wanted the collar of the rivet and where it goes in the hole to be very precise, because I don't want this little O-ring getting in between the rivet and the skin. I want to make sure it's outside so that when you pull that O-ring seals. So I made the trip and I went and got actually ended up getting a whole set of numbered drill bits because I'll probably need them again for something. But anyway, that's what we're doing. Just putting rivets in now with the big old rivet gun. It's not even a rivet gun. It's more of a rivet bolt cutter. I don't know. I've been using this little number 1 Phillips screw to kind of deburr the holes a little bit. I bought a little deburring tool for doing the edges of metal, but I failed to get one of the little V ones for doing holes. Unless that one came with me. Maybe that one came with one. I don't know. I need to look. But anyway, this works. Here we go. Like I said, I don't want anything to cut up these little O-rings that are on here. I'm out here doing this in the rain because it's supposed to rain even more tomorrow, and I really don't want water pouring in these holes, even though it was before. That's why that's why I'm doing this. But anyway. All right. Okay, so there's two things that is kind of special about these rivets. One is that they're shavable, which means you can take a pair of dikes or whatever and cut the end off of this, and there's a special tool that's got cutters in the right shape that it goes on a drill, and you shave this thing down to make it look like one of these. I'm not going to do that right now just because it's pouring down rain. Well, not pouring, it's sprinkling rain, and my tools are all getting wet. But that's going to be the next step. For now, that'll keep the water out of the holes. Now, the second thing that's kind of unique about these rivets, and I'll sacrifice one for y'all so you can see, is that they've got these slits in them. And so when you collapse them, they do that. And so you can see right there kind of what it does. This is on the back of the steel back there, where all the strength is at. And I mean, if you look how wide that is. This is not going to pull back out. It might corrode and pop off like the other ones did, but it's not going to pull through. So that's the other reason that I'm using these rivets, not just because they're shavable. So you can get rivets like this that aren't shavable too. It's a double whammy with these Olympic rivets. They're good rivets. So I was out here sealing up some of the seams, and I wanted to try this trick that I saw online. You basically take a toilet paper roll and use it to clean up caulk, and you can see it works pretty good. It just leaves a nice round bead, and all the excess caulk just goes up into that paper towel or the toilet paper roll, and it, instead of going somewhere else, you know, and it really works good, especially if you have a lot of excess caulk. So you can kind of see down in there, if I'll get it in frame. Yeah, here we go. It worked pretty good. So you can kind of, you know, just use your caulk gun and go down into a corner like that where I'm trying to seal that drip rail, and don't have to worry too much about how much caulk you're using, especially when it's a tricky spot like this. So, and it worked pretty good. It's not the prettiest in the world, but up here where you can't really see anyway, it was a pretty cool little solution. Well, I'm out here checking my leaks again, and it's not looking so good. Not looking too good. So, I don't know, back to the drawing board. I'm running out of places to seal out there. I've sealed seams, I've sealed rivets. Yeah, I guess I could go up on the roof again and check the seams up there, because I think it's kind of interesting that it's leaking on this side and almost directly across on this side, which at the moment it's not leaking too much over here because the wind's blowing from this direction. Which, you know, that kind of makes me think it's coming in the sides somewhere. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer. So I'd really like to get to the point where I can start putting the floor or finishing the floor back here. But anyway, just got to figure it out. So last time I was out here, I was sealing up this rub rail. Some of the rivets had popped out, and that left kind of a hole in behind here. So yesterday, I pulled the rubber out of the middle, went through and fixed the rivets, at least in the areas where I think the water's coming in, which is right about where this water's running down right here. And I thought, you know, that's got to be it. It's getting in one of these rivets, and one of these was messed up. But I just went on the inside and checked, and it's still leaking in the same place. So it's possible that there's a rivet busted on this rub rail and it's leaking in back there. But one thing I did last time is I put silicone here to try to keep it from being able to even get behind here and make it run over the top, just as a test. The other culprit could be this guy, because the way the drip rail is designed is it just puts the water right down on top of that thing, and it's pretty close to being in line with my issue. So I think next time I'm going to put a good bead of silicone around that thing and see if that makes a difference. And we'll just have to keep doing trial and error until the leaks are gone. So that's it for now. All right, so I got one of these Skeptor 22-inch monitors, and I'm going to attempt to mount it up in the front of the bus to replace the old TV that was in there. But anyway, this is what I got. About $120, $130 from Amazon. I can put a link in the description. But it comes with HDMI cable, a little screwdriver to help you put the mount together, to screw it to the back. But we won't be using that. We're probably going to use a VESA mount. But if we flip this thing over, kind of show you what I was after here. The most important thing I was after was this. It runs off 12 volts. It just comes with this little 12 volt wall wart, and you can see the output there. It's 12 volts. I did test this up to 14 volts, and it didn't seem to get upset about it. So it should work even when the batteries are charging at full voltage. So that should be good. So anyway, those are kind of the requirements. 12 volt input, VESA mount, multiple HDMIs is definitely a good thing, and even a VGA might come in handy one day. Other thing I noticed, oh, also it has speakers. Now, the speakers on these things kind of suck, but it will get you by in a pinch if you're trying to make a TV out of this thing, which I kind of am. I'm just going to hook a tuner in the HDMI, and then all of a sudden you've got TV. But I got a little external sound bar thing that I'm going to try to use. And what's kind of cool about this is you got the audio in, but there's also an audio out, which makes me think that if the audio is coming in HDMI, I can get that audio to come out right here. And I'm just really hoping that it's not, you know, only the in that comes in here goes out here. I don't see why they would do that. I'm really thinking it's got to be a split off of the HDMI stream. So I'll test that and we'll see. But hopefully this will work. I really wanted to put a touch screen. I wanted to get a 22-inch touchscreen monitor, because then eventually I can put like a Raspberry Pi. Well, not a Raspberry Pi. I don't know if they do touch, but like a Windows 10 OS on a little mini computer or something, and then use it to run my systems into. The idea is that to kind of do electronic sending units and then pipe them all into some kind of NEMA or something like that, and then have that go to a touchscreen where you can have sort of like a central command post, where you can run all that stuff from. I mean, eventually I'd like to have a Victron system, and I know they have their own stuff, but it would be cool to kind of homebrew my own. But that was the idea. But touchscreen is like $300-400, and I just don't really feel like spending the money on that right now. So I'm kind of trying to save fancy stuff like that for down the road when I'm 100% sure I'm going to be keeping this thing for a long time and really using it. I mean, up to this point, I assume that's what I'm going to do, but I mean, what if I hate it, you know? So I'm just trying to get, make it nice, but do things to just get by for now. Alrighty, so out here in the bus, and if we just kind of fit this up, it fits quite nicely between the two doors, which was the main measurement I was looking at. And then what I'm gonna do, so you can see it doesn't fill up the hole from top to bottom, but that's okay, because what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a piece of wood back across here, and onto that I'm gonna mount a VESA mount, and that will hold the TV. And then what I'm also gonna try to do is on that same board, or like another board, is I'm gonna mount this like that somehow or another, and that plus this, if I can hold it without dropping it, should, well, it's still gonna kind of leave a little bit of the holes here on the edges, but I'll figure something out to make it look good. But that's what I want to do. I want to kind of have a sound bar underneath. So what I'm trying to do is have a standalone TV system that can just run off the batteries and not have to be hooked up to the stereo in order to play out these speakers. Although I might try to see if I can rig a way to where it can if I want. But I'd like to do either or, sound bar or speakers, because, having the full coach stereo on is just going to run the battery dead. And if I just want to pull over and boondock for a couple days and just be able to check the weather or the news or something, I can do that. This little TV is only going to draw, I think the output on the wall wart is, let's see, 2 amps, and it's probably not going to draw that. It's probably overrated by a good bit. It'll probably draw like 1, so that's pretty good. And then this thing runs off of, what is this? Oh yeah, this is 12 volts too. Everything, I'm trying to kind of standardize on 12 volts. Output 12 volts, 1 amp. So if I had to guess, with the volume turned down on this guy, you're looking at almost nothing for this speaker, probably 0.2 or 3, and then maybe another 1, call it 1.5 max draw on this system. And then whatever my amplifier for my antenna draws, which is probably going to be more than the TV and the speaker put together. But anyway, that's the idea. We'll see how it goes. I got to start fitting up something to hold the TV or to hold the monitor in there. But I think right now what I'm going to do is go up on the roof and see about some of these leaks in the back, because I still got leak issues back here in the back. I can't put my floor down until they're resolved. And it's coming in there and there. So I'm probably going to go outside and get on the roof on this cold, windy day and just make sure that it's not coming in the roof. Now, I seriously doubt it's coming in the roof, because if it was, it would probably come down through somewhere on the headliner and run across and be dripping down there or down there. That's what it did in the front. In the front, where the horn mounts are, it was leaking. And so it was leaking and coming in right up here, and that water just ran down and ran out of the, you can see where all the staples rusted and busted off there from where it had been leaking so long. But I would assume it would do something similar to that if it was actually leaking on the roof. And that's what makes me think it's leaking on the walls. So anyway, I'll figure it out. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but we'll get there. All right, so I got this little piece of wood that's already got some laminate on it that they had cut out from the bed platform. Actually, it'll kind of look like that. That'll give me a good solid platform. I'll just screw it in from the back and we'll go from there. And then I'll drill holes as needed to give myself access, or I may raise it up a little bit. We'll see. So when I first opened up this monitor, I was wondering what these little standoffs were for. And what that is the way they built this thing. This is for the stand. You know, if you're using the stand instead of a VESA mount, this screws on to the stand, and as you can see, it sticks out. So what they did is they gave you these little standoffs to screw in there like that, and that will take this plate and hold it up here to give it the clearance. All right, that's kind of what it looks like mounted on there. And then it's just going to hang, this plate's going to go on the wood, and it's going to hang like that. And I think this is to put a little sheet metal screw or something in there, and that screw will land right there to keep this thing from bouncing up out of here, which is a bit of a concern for me. These mounts are really made so that you can put the TV up when you're at your campsite and then take it back down. I don't know if it's the best thing to be using for this, but I figure if push comes to shove, I'll just, I don't know. I'll put it on there, and when I get everything like I want it, I'll just shoot zip screws through it. Well, now I won't be able to get to it once it's mounted. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get to any of this once it's mounted. Yeah, let me think about that. All right, so that's kind of what it looks like. I've got this thing screwed in from the back. It's pretty solid, especially to hold up a monitor that weighs like a pound. So let's see if it's gonna work. See if I can do this with one hand. Probably not. Seems like a great way to drop a monitor in the floor. Yeah, let me put the camera down. Alrighty then. See if I did anything correct here. This is easier said than done. Well, I definitely did not account or think about the fact that the ceiling is going to be in the way here. Although I think I may be able to just make it. Come on. Oh, that's going to be really annoying if I can't get this in here. I mean, I can always lower it down, but that's going to mess up my whole plan. Alrighty then. This may not work. If I just spring these out slightly, let me go get a more substantial tool. Bring these bad boys out a little bit, and then kind of do the same thing here. That'll give me just enough angle to where I can get it started here. There we go. Never surrender. And that is, wow, that's not good. I don't know about this mount, honestly. But what I did do, well, actually looks pretty good. Centered up nice. And then the idea is to try to get this in here. Well, I still got those holes there. I don't know. I'll figure something out. Just keep messing with it until we get something. Well, it's not perfect, but if you didn't know, there was still little gaps under there and over here. You would probably wouldn't notice. So this is gonna be good enough for now. I think I'm just gonna take 3M tape and tape that sound bar up. Right now it's actually kind of wedged and sitting on top of the TV. So the TV will take some of the weight and then I'll push it back onto the tape. And I think that'll hold fine. But I think it looks pretty good. And you know, the audio is really good out of this sound bar. The sound bar was like $20-some from Amazon, I think. So I'll put a link to that in the description too. Thing sounds really good. So anyway, I got some wiring I need to do to get everything. Right now I've just got it all plugged into a power strip on AC with the wall warts that it came with, just a test. But I'm gonna make some harnesses and wire it all into 12 volts and get everything buttoned up real good and tight so that if I ever want to actually drive this thing somewhere, I can. So, but for right now, it's good enough to put some Westerns on grit. So anyway, on to the next project.